at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton Tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless, and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB Newsroom. The King has used his Christmas broadcast to praise individuals, charities and faith groups supporting those in need. In the historic first address, the King also sympathised with households struggling with the cost of living crisis, speaking about the great anxiety and hardship people are facing. Earlier, he attended the royal family's traditional Christmas Day church service in Sandringham. The King and the Queen Consort were joined by the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children. GB News' royal correspondent Cameron Walker says the King highlighted the selfless dedication of the armed forces and the emergency services.
His Majesty also paid tributes to the armed forces and emergency service workers who had worked over the period of the Queen's death, but also in the months since. I think it was particularly significant he referred to specifically the public sector workers, including teachers and emergency services, although, as I've already mentioned, because in the last month there have been public service strikes. Nurses have gone on strikes, train drivers have gone on strikes, even ambulance drivers have as well. Now, the King did not officially specifically refer to the strikes. He remained very much impartial, but he did give a slight nod to the work and the service that the public sector provide.
2 people are missing after an avalanche in a skiing area in Western Austria. That's according to local media reports. The avalanche happened around 3 p.m. this afternoon local time, and it was initially thought that 10 people had been buried. However, 2 people were rescued early on and both went to hospitals. The 6 remaining were uninjured. The search is continuing for a gunman who killed a 26-year-old woman in Merseyside on Christmas Eve. She was celebrating Christmas with friends and family when she was shot and killed. Police say she wasn't thought to be targeted. The woman was taken to hospital where she died from her injuries. 4 men were also taken to hospital with gunshot wounds after the incident. Merseyside police are urging anyone with information to come forward.
Now is the time for our communities to come together with us to show that the use of guns on our streets will not be tolerated. Our thoughts and condolences are very much with the family of the victim. Today, they should have been celebrating the joy of Christmas. Instead, they're trying to come to terms with what has happened and come to terms with the loss of a much-loved daughter and sister.
Over 1 million Americans and Canadians are facing Christmas Day without power as a winter storm continues to sweep across North America. According to reports, 28 people have died so far in weather-related incidents across the country. Nearly 3,000 flights were cancelled yesterday, with some airports closed. New York's governor has declared a state of emergency. And the Prince and Princess of Wales have shared a Christmas painting created by Prince George. The 9-year-old prince painted a reindeer with 2 robins sitting on its antlers, and the message attached to the picture says, "Merry Christmas." TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Now it's over to headliners.
Merry Christmas again, and welcome to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie. I'm going to be taking you through all of Monday's top stories. To join me on this jolly journalistic journey, I'm joined by the wonderful Sajila Kershi and the brilliant Paul Cox. But first, let's take a look at Monday's front pages. The Daily Mail, King's message of love and hope. We're going to show that in a second. Or we're not. We're going to do the Eye. NHS targets to be swept away in reform plan. The Guardian, monumental cultural shift with a third more stay-at-home fathers. The Daily Express, King of Caring, referring to the King's first Christmas message. There we go, we're going to plough through them. They're going to keep up in that studio. The Sun, I'm ahead of you guys. I'm racing ahead here. I've had my 5th coffee. The Sun now. King of Hearts, Charles, tribute to beloved mother, praise for nation as Kate sparkles. And finally, our friends at the Daily Star, scare of the dog, not so yappy Christmas as Fido sets fire to the house. And those are your front pages. Let's kick off things with the main story that's dominated most of the newspapers. Sajila, the royal family this Christmas. Now, what did you think of King Charles's speech?
Oh, my God. So it was the first time in ages that the whole family, like, quick, the King's going to make a speech. And we all went in front of the TV and what people... I was just talking to Sophia, our producer, and they're saying that immigrants really love the royal family on the whole. And that is really because of the Queen. And so we were really anxious to see what... the King's going to be like. And he didn't disappoint. I have to say that I thought he was heartfelt. It was really warm, really shows that he cares. And it kind of shows us, it gives us an indication of the kind of king that he wants to be. And, of course, a lot of things that he probably swayed away from what his mother might have done. And it was quite nice to do it where, his mum and dad are kind of buried in was it St George's Chapel near there. And we were really touched by it. I thought it was a great speech. I thought he came across really well, and I was pleasantly surprised because I thought after the Queen we couldn't really replace her. He's going to be a different kind of king. He's not the Queen.
So, I mean, Paul, there was a lot of pressure here.
There was, wasn't there? I mean, the longest apprenticeship ever. I think I agree completely with everything that Sajila said.
He was probably writing this when he was like
10.
Finally, I get to deliver my speech.
I think the Queen would be proud, though. I think it was a lovely, smooth step into King Charles, where, like I think you were alluding to, it could have been quite a step change. We weren't too sure what to expect. I think he trod the line really well. I like the bit he did about public sector workers without mentioning the strikes. I like the way that he mentioned the Prince and Princess of Wales without having to refer to any of the other stuff that's going on. And he just got it right for me. It's very traditional. I like the fact that he anchored it in the tradition, the sort of Anglo-Saxon tradition and the tradition of Christianity that he is a big supporter of.
But also inclusive as well.
Yeah, he was.
He didn't forget to be inclusive to other faiths. And I thought that's really important, and that sort of like kind of there is a little bit of his mother in that. You know, I know that he'll probably want to continue the what's that thing? The
Church of England?
No, the United, the
Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth, that's right. That's right. It's Christmas, people. You know, we've all indulged.
There hasn't been any drinking, promise.
But yeah, I think he really. He absolutely nailed it in terms of if that's a speech you're going to give as a comedian. If you work towards the Apollo, that's his Apollo gig, and he smashed it.
Not many laughs though, were there?
Yeah,
no,
but I think for a first,
few giggles in there. Come on, King Charles.
The only thing that was missing.
He's more of a festival comedian than a club circuit comedian.
Bring him out once a year.
There was a narrative, wasn't there?
There was a narrative arc, wasn't there?
There was indeed. No, I genuinely think it was brilliant. He did everything that was necessary for him to do, I think. It didn't seem to go on as long as perhaps I think other speeches have gone. Now, I could just be...
That's because it was a good speech and it didn't feel like it was dragging. Leave them wanting more.
Wow.
Leave them wanting more.
Wow. Well done, King Charles. It seems, yes, all the newspapers, King of Caring, King's Message of Love and Hope, King of Hearts. Yeah, I'd say that's a 5-star review from all the newspapers there. Well, I would like to say, because we haven't got it anywhere covered, I just want to talk about 1 second about Prince George's Christmas card, like this reindeer. I don't know if we have a picture of it, but I've got to throw out some respects. I don't know if you've seen it, but he draws a good stag. For a 9-year-old, he's
Did he, though? Because we're parents.
You've got some great artists in your family.
Yeah, you know what? Have you not helped your child along?
My daughter is a phenomenal artist. I nearly said drawer then. That would have been interesting if I'd gone along with that. But she is a phenomenal artist for her age. She's 13 now. King George. Prince George is 9, isn't he? I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
I like good picture of a stag. I've got to throw out the respect there. That's good. It was a good one. Right, well, let's take a look at some other stories. Paul, you're having a look at the eye.
Yeah, we've got the eye in front of us. The NHS targets to be swept away in a reform plan. First things first.
My God, is this actual news? I don't think we've the first time we've got some news in a while.
It's outrageous on Christmas Day as well.
I mean, and let's face it, there does need to be some reform. I'll just read a couple of the headlines from this. Major review of health service by former Labour Minister Patricia Hewitt will result in radical changes, the eye understands. So things that she's looking to introduce is to sweep away...
There's the mirror there, which, of course, we're not actually talking about at the moment. We're going to get the eye up at some point. There it is.
There is lots of sherry behind the scenes here.
They are so drunk in this office.
It's outrageous,
actually. You're going to hear the chanting and the screaming. They're having a well of a time.
I mean... it's not clear. This looks to be very much a Labour initiative, and of course Labour aren't in power yet. I'd imagine we all probably believe we're going to see them in power in the next year or two. But it's going to... One thing that did interest me is it said that we need to run the NHS more like we do the education system. Well, I would say that the education system is not exactly the gold standard in terms of public services. I'm a big fan of teachers. I think, it's a difficult job, but I would argue that our education system, if that's the next step up, is a bit of a worry, isn't it?
That's the same thing that I thought, oh my God, why have they compared it to the education system? I don't have small children, so you probably can say whether it's good enough out there. I'm just going by what I do at the GPs, and they do have, 72 targets in all they have to, get, and that explains, things like making sure you've got, diabetes checkups and making sure they're giving, statins. I didn't want statins, and I got forced into having statins, because I feel now I was one of the 72% that I had to be made up.
There was a reason for it, though. They didn't just make you... You just didn't come in...
I said I didn't want it, and I tried to not do it, and they said, oh, no statin. And I was like, there must be some other alternatives, because, it gives you side effects.
There is an argument for there are reasons they were there, but, of course, taking them away... Suddenly there's less targets to actually meet.
So more work that they can actually do. So they can
I know, but at the same time there's less targets for them to fail at, which they are doing tremendously at the moment.
I'm always sceptical of stories like this. That just sweeping it away is not the thing to do. There will be babies in that bathwater that need to be retained. Arbitrary box ticking from the 90s is no longer relevant now in the 2020s, I'm sure. So there are things that can change. But it's just a big headline for the eye, really, that isn't about the King's speech.
Yeah, well done them.
Yes.
Gold star.
Digging up some news over Christmas. So, Gila, let's go and have a look at The Guardian.
OK, so I haven't got my readers because I left them outside, so I'm going to have to try and go with what...
No,
so
because they didn't check you when you went to the doctors.
Yeah.
That was it. Now you're complaining about it.
No, I do have to have a diabetes eye test every year, which I'm partial to that, actually. I love being blind for a whole day. So monumental cultural shift with a third more stay-at-home fathers. This is really interesting. So the culture has shifted, where it's always been, like, kind of understood that mums are kind of staying at home. And can I just say, I hate it. Hate when dads say that they're babysitting their own children.
Yeah, well...
It really irks me
Yeah,
so
it's not
badly.
something I say. I just
I know
don't look
you
after
probably
them.
won't. I know present company, they won't, but usually it's like, estranged fathers. I won't go into too much. But, yeah, so stay-at-home dads in the UK are up by a third since the pandemic. So presumably during the pandemic, people, they weren't furloughed or they lost their jobs and they didn't kind of have any other employment. So it's risen, like, between July and September this year, 141,000 dads did not have a paid job and stayed at home, compared to 105,000 fathers during the same period in 2019. So that's quite a significant rise. Now, mothers are working more and fathers are increasing their childcare and housework, which you think that's a good thing. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, finally, men can show women how to do it properly.
Oh, you, on Christmas as well, how could you? You're here whilst your missus is looking after the kids, right?
But she's gone out for a drink. They're all
There's 5 of them.
Yeah.
But, I mean, looking after the family has always been one of the reasons that women have had to kind of, like, come out of the workforce. So these are going to change the dynamics. But it also, I wonder, because I've had friends whose partners have stayed at home and taking care of the kids. And invariably, one of the issues that comes up is, all feminists, all about equality and stuff, but they feel like that the men, I don't know, cease to, because they don't have a career or a purpose in life other than looking after the home. And the women, they tend to sort of lose respect.
Well, this is what I was going to say, Paul. I mean, COVID, we were locked away, certainly as comics. We couldn't work for a couple of years. And I know for me, my wife became the main breadwinner. And I was doing all the homeschooling and cooking and whatnot. Did you have a similar situation?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had some other employment which kept me going, fortunately, but very much the same. Unable to do any of the work that we usually do, so the income drops. I would question the use of the word monumental. I think it was 1 in 9, which, what's that, 13%?
It's still not. It's a shift, but it's not.
But it's
like
not a huge
exactly.
shift. However, this is just representative of the societal changes that are going on. I don't think this has happened just because of the pandemic, although I think we're seeing a step change because of the pandemic. We've seen something change over the last 20 or 30 years where there's a lot more pressure for women to work. I'm sure lots of them want to, but there is pressure for them to work. There's pressure on lifestyle. People want to own houses. They want to go on holidays. You've got to have dual incomes. I don't know anyone, really.
I'm a single income household.
Well, great for you. And I can't imagine that it's
here you
easy.
are working on Christmas.
Well, here you go. Here is the truth in the pudding, which I had to leave at home because I had to get here.
Do you see this, though, Julia? I mean, that's interesting from a woman's perspective. Is this something you see a lot of? I'm seeing some of it in the middle classes.
My circles.
In the middle classes.
I see it in my circles, but I have to say that the relationship shift in those marriages, I also find interesting. And these aren't like South Asian women. I'd expect that. Sorry, South Asian women. I don't mean that. But this is an interesting kind of development where, although we want this equality, the women in these relationships aren't happy with the husbands necessarily doing the role that they do, and them being the breadwinners, because they almost lose respect for. And I'm not saying this is across the board. I'm just saying that I'm seeing it in my relationships, like not my friendships around me. I don't know what that means.
To be met, not you necessarily, but some people might want that.
No, I would love.
It's interesting. We're going to move on, but I just wanted to say that the thing that winds me up in this is all the films that are like Daddy Daycare or whatever, and it's like when men can't change a nappy and all that stuff, and that's what does my nut in, because that is not something that I see.
Yeah, but you've got 5 kids, and so therefore you would have been hands-on.
I'm talking about my friends in my area. Every dad I know is hands-on now. And that might be this, like, North London thing, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I feel like there is a shift there. Maybe not to sort of stay-at-home dads in totality, but I definitely think that men are much more hands-on when it comes to raising their kids. Look, one more thing before we go to the break. Paul, let's have a very, very quick look at the Daily Star.
Scare of the dog.
Oh, yeah.
Scare of the dog. This is all about a Labrador. I think it was a Labrador. It's a Labrador pictured anyway.
It's gorgeous.
That unwittingly turned on a hairdryer.
Well, you say unwittingly. Well, I suspect
because this does feel like dog shaming to me. Yeah. There is no way. Labradors are intelligent dogs, but I don't think he went into the or she went into the bedroom, turned on the hairdryer, and thought that'll teach you for leaving me.
What I'm interested by, it says a dog is believed to have started a fire. Right? Now, if that was a human, they would say allegedly have started a fire. So I don't know about this dog shaming and making out like
if it was a human, they would probably report it as we don't know the gender of the dog.
I don't know.
That's all for part one. Had to get that in there. And that's it for the front page as well. But join us for part two, where we have accusations against the Home Office, a bizarre rant from the one and only Mr. Trump, and an uplifting message from President Zelensky. See you on two.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison? I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, We're
on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. Clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Merry Christmas and welcome back to Headliners with me, Josh Howie, on my home turf. Joining me tonight is the brilliant comedy duo of Sajila Kershi and Paul Cox. There they are, waving away. Yeah, always got the thumbs up. Let's kick off with Monday's Guardian and accusations against the Home Office, Paul.
Yes, the Home Office has been accused of breaking a promise made after the murder of Sarah Everard to alleviate violence against women and girls to the same status.
Home Office breaking a promise.
I'll give a little bit more context to this because I do think it's important, Josh. Police forces are yet required to make a group of misogynistic crimes such as rape, stalking, upskirting a major priority because of the failure to issue proposed government directive, Labour says. So this is about changing the status of reporting, of managing these crimes, essentially, raising the priority. Now, I need to speak here as a father of a teenage girl, as a husband of a woman, and
as a woman.
Well, it's important to point out. It could, but a mother of a son and a brother and all those things.
Speak as a human,
and a human, and I totally understand this. I guess if there is no issue with it, but if I question anything, I hate the way that politics is brought into this. I think we should be able to say this is a human issue, and that it's difficult to say because you don't want to say any particular group is weaker than another group, but the perpetrators tend to be one part of the group.
98%.
And the victims tend to be another part of the group.
Sex offenders are male. That's just a fact. 98% of sex offenders are male.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
Well, so to restate, penis with a penis.
Well, exactly.
We can say, let's just say peanuts. You just wanted to say peanuts.
No, I didn't want to say. I just
because you just wanted to do it on Christmas as well.
You do.
Well, look,
Christmas peanuts.
So, Gina, as Paul says, I mean, is this playing politics, or is it just that actually this needs to be called out and our government has been rubbish?
No, it really, really needs to be called out. We've had too many issues, too many mistakes, too many things going on, and it's you keep putting women on the back burner. Like, you know, we make up over half the population. This is not acceptable.
Half of the voting public.
Over half the So seriously, can you do more? So there's one of the bit that I found was interesting was a damning official examination into how police forces tackle rape, released in December, has exposed persistent failings in the criminal justice system, including a failure to track repeat suspects. Why is that an issue? And then basically they victim blame, victim shame, and they botched investigations, and this is what the reports found. So we've got to do better in 2023. This is not acceptable.
Absolutely. I mean, Paul, was it 1.5%, only 1.5% of rape cases are charged? Now, that's offensive.
It's a terribly worrying statistic, isn't it? I don't know what builds that statistic, but I imagine there's a fair amount of nuance to that, but I don't think that's important. I think what's important is that is... What's that? 1 in 100, 2 in 100 women that bring a rape accusation are able to take that to justice. Now, that's not saying that everyone they accuse of rape is a rapist, but you'd think a much larger amount of people would see justice than that.
But 40% of rape victims dropped out last year, so that is really worrying.
How many of that? What of that percentage was because they didn't feel like
they didn't feel they were going to be believed.
The system was going to work for them. So look, I think that Labour is right to call this. But I will say also that Labour maybe should also... It's a bit rich from them when they don't seem to know what a woman is. So, anyway. Right, let's move...
Try harder, Labour, this year, please.
Yeah, they need to do some stuff themselves. Sort yourselves out. Monday's Independent now, and some seriously concerning news from Afghanistan aid workers.
Oh, gosh, so obviously we've seen the stories recently about women not being allowed to go to university. We all remember the images from last year. So this story in the Independent, aid agencies suspend work in Afghanistan after Taliban bans women. And so the aid agency is saying things, we simply can't work without our dedicated female staff. Foreign aid groups have been suspended in their operations in Afghanistan after a decision by the country's Taliban rulers to ban women from working at an international... This is such a home goal because... Now, last year, I was meant to go, after we saw the horrible images, with a female charity based to deliver safe aid in Afghanistan. And I couldn't go because I wasn't well enough. But this charity did amazing work. So they went over and they literally were the only lifeline for the women that were out there that were helping. And without charities that... Because obviously it needs women to go in and help these women, in those places. There was poverty even back then in those early stages. So you cannot imagine what's been happening now. And there were women killing themselves because rather than face having to, go under the Taliban. And this is the mess that kind of, unfortunately, when we withdrew our forces, we've left there and no one's helping them. If aid agencies cannot go in, like these NGOs, if they can't go in, then who's going to help these women and children? And they are in a really dire state. And they're denying that there's been any protests there in this article, so which there have been. There have been young men, which I commend, who have...
the university students who also walked out.
Yeah. I mean, I was hoping that we could... There's a friend of mine who's a documentary maker. She's posted a video of saying, well, these are the people that were helping the women in Afghanistan, and they were getting beaten in the street. And so it's the same kind of situation we've got in Iran, where there is a slight uprising, but they're just overpowered. I just don't see how the women can get out of that situation without external help.
No, and probably from the West. And that's why I become conflicted by some of these stories, because this is wrong, but we view it from our perspective from the West, which I'm very glad to say value women very differently. But that also feels prejudiced for me to say that, because I don't believe that every man in the Middle East values women differently to me.
I can tell you now, this is wrong. This is not right. What's happening in Afghanistan, what's happening in Iran is not right. That is not Islamic. That is not... This is pure misogyny. This is pure hatred of women to make sure that they... Because if you educate a woman can be stronger. I mean, I have sometimes wondered if I wasn't brought up here, what kind of life I would have had. And I'm a really outspoken fierce woman, and if I had gone there last year, I don't think I could not have shut my gob. And you know, there's loads of stories I could tell you, but the problem is this is Afghanistan. It is not what it should be like there.
And they did have the advantage of education for 20 years. Now, the reason I say I'm conflicted is because of the reason I said before about, you know, I'm giving my perspective from the West and making a judgment doesn't feel comfortable to me. However, we did start this, right? So we went in there, we've mixed everything up. You know, the war in Afghanistan has caused this problem. Now, I know it wasn't the only cause of this problem. This is, you know, eons old. However, we did give the women of Afghanistan the liberty to be educated for some time, and that's been taken away.
It went back to where it was before the Taliban.
Well, yes, and it was to the benefit of their country. And now, as you said, Sajila, this is a massive home goal, and it's not just men and women, not women and children who suffer. It's men themselves who suffer. It's crazy, but that's a ridiculous ideology for you. Now, this from Monday's Mirror and Trump's Christmas rant, Paul.
Yeah, Donald Trump.
I love this.
Wouldn't be
now,
Christmas.
anytime I speak about Trump, I get, like, crazy abuse. Oh, Trump's great. But come on, at some point, people are going to wake up, surely.
Yeah,
this is madness.
I'll give you my view on this, the good, bad and the ugly. Let's just give some insight on the story, first of all. Donald Trump has hit out his political opponents, including mentally disabled, in inverted commas for those on radio, rival US President Joe Biden in a rambling, festive message where he appears to claim to have psychic powers. Now, this is something I genuinely enjoy about Donald Trump, and that is that he talks like I would have spoken if I'd been in charge of the world at 14 years old. His rambles always sound like he's angry with his parents, don't it?
But he's a great communicator. That's what he does. He reaches his public.
He's the very best. Yeah. That was terrible.
Very, very bad.
I don't do... but addressing...
Don't try and beat me at accents,
I
mate.
can't do any. I won't try. Addressing his followers on his own website, we should hasten to add, he said, "Merry Christmas to everyone, including the radical left Marxists that are trying to destroy our country."
That's me! Hey, thanks, Trump.
Straight at Josh there. The FBI that are illegally coercing and paying social and lamestream media...
Yeah, you lamestream media.
...to push mentally disabled Democrats over the brilliant, clairvoyant and USA-loving Donald J. Trump.
I mean, talking about himself in third person. It's always
fantastic, isn't it? I mean, what's not to love about that sometimes? I mean, I know this, we're talking about people's lives. The reason this is funny to me is because he's no longer in power. When he was in power, I did enjoy it just as much, but you had to sort of...
I have to say, it was
You're
like...
missing him, are you?
No, from a kind of a comedic point of view.
Oh, sure.
He's just so ridiculous and so, like,
It's a lot of material.
Yeah, I mean, even the fact that he's calling himself a clairvoyant, like, so you can see the future. Oh, it's Christmas, maybe.
Oh, I wonder how many years he's going to be sent to jail for.
He's not going to win hearts and minds. I mean, he's won over the people that... You know, it's still touch and go. 2024 is looking less likely like a Donald Trump win. Perhaps a DeSantis win. Probably could see the Republicans getting back in. But he only has one method. And it's this sort of... well, I don't know what you call it.
It's slagging people off.
How do you how do you finish off every Donald Trump story? Never count him out.
No, you should never count him out.
1,000 times. Now, Monday's independent now. And is Putin really ready to negotiate, Sajila?
Oh, so interesting. So Putin says Russia ready to negotiate as Ukrainian soldiers enjoy Christmas dinner, which is a misleading sort of headline because it suggests that they're sitting eating Christmas dinner and tapping on the shoulder to say, "I am ready to talk," but that's not happening. No. That's not what's happening here. So he says that he's basically ready to negotiate over the war in Ukraine. But Kyiv and allies have refused to engage in talks. So he's told a newspaper this. And I think that's a good thing, that he's willing to negotiate.
Do you believe him?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's accused Ukraine and the West of trying to pull historical Russia apart, which signals that he still wants control of the territories that he's got.
Yeah.
And so... Fair enough, OK, and that seems to be a non-negotiable point. However...
Well, fair enough that that's what he wants, or fair enough that the Ukrainians are saying no?
No, fair enough that's non-negotiable. That's what they're saying.
Ukrainians.
However, right, to make war it takes two, right? Because obviously he invaded, then we've been given, and I think maybe he's running out of weapons. No, can you just say?
No.
Can we just
make war? It doesn't make two. He invaded a sovereign nation.
No, OK, can I just finish my point of view, please, gentlemen? Please, order. Yeah. It's just that if you want to negotiate
I'm sending
peace...
you to Iran or Afghanistan.
Pardon?
I was just joking that I was going to send you to
But
Afghanistan.
yeah, if he wants to have peace, then maybe they should listen to him and maybe meet him halfway. Because obviously the sticking point is that he thinks the Russian-speaking part should be Russia, right? So maybe give him a little bit, maybe just get to the table and then talk.
No.
Because if you just turn him down completely...
I'm sorry, Sajila, I have to...
Well, you're not speaking for them, are you?
Well, no, okay, they have...
And I've given my opinion,
okay,
which is what I'm here for.
That's not... If someone invaded the UK and took the Welsh-speaking parts or the Gaelic-speaking parts, then, you know, they are part of the UK. You don't... And by the way, I am speaking for them because they have very clearly said that they don't want to do that. They want to get Crimea back, and they should. That was part of their land. That was part of their sovereign nation.
Well, then we're going to carry on with a war that's going to kill loads of more people.
Well, unfortunately, we're not carrying on with a war. They are. And it's costing them very.
I'm not
dearly.
a warmongering person. I'm believing.
I'm not a warmongering.
I think that to get to the table, you're not going to have a talk, and if you're going to be completely zero tolerance, zero listening to anything.
There's no zero tolerance here. He invaded a sovereign nation. How is there compromise?
I know he invaded
out of Ukraine.
Okay,
that's the compromise.
Josh, I know what happened. I was here this last year. We were covering the stories, but I'm just saying.
What compromise could they possibly make?
Because this is obviously an opinion thing at the end of the day, and I'm just giving the other side that perhaps that's maybe something that we need to consider. That's all I'm saying.
You're
taking it ever so personally.
That sounds to me like
someone's
that's
missed their
Putin's
Christmas
side
dinner today.
Well, that's what Putin's side to say. But anyway, fair enough. We've got our opinions. We're going to move on. That's part 2 in the bag. Look at us getting all debatey and adulty there. Coming up, an aggressively Christmassy town, climate change loving reindeers, and the real reason behind Boxing Day footy. It's Christmas, you didn't know. See you in 2.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back. Let's have a look at Monday's mail. And have you ever considered switching up your Christmas cuisine to KFC, Sajila?
Well, so this is a fun story in the Daily Mail. A Kentucky Fried Christmas. It says the heading, while you tuck into your turkey, all of us have been today, KFCs across Japan will be packed with diners who've ordered weeks in advance to get a dirty chicken, basically.
I don't want to be dismissive of a serious story of this nature, but this comes around every year, doesn't it? It's like, it's a pub quiz question, this. You know, what do the Japanese prefer to eat on Christmas Day? It's KFC. Now, am I the only one who's... Have you heard this story before?
I've never heard it, no.
Oh, wow, no. So, perhaps it is new to some people, but it feels like... I mean, my dad does a lot of pub quizzes, the sort of thing that he would relish knowing and he'd show off about. But...
Get out your anger issues towards your dad, Paul. Come on.
Sorry. Yeah, he is watching as well, and I'll have a chat with him afterwards. But yeah, he is boring. You're right, Josh. Thank you for confirming.
I think this is actually very fascinating how cultures get transmitted around the world. Paul, can you tell us the reason why they eat KFC? Come on.
No, I can't. Actually.
Oh well, there we go.
Oh, well, lucky because it's my story, so maybe I'll tell you, Josh. Hey.
Come on, then. What's
It's the brainchild of Takesh Akawara. He's the manager of the first KFC in the country, according to BBC, right? So basically what he did was he said he had a dream, not exactly Martin Luther King kind of dream. He said he had a dream that he was dreaming that everybody was eating KFC, and basically then he started selling the KFC. But when he started selling the KFC, it had the red and white signs. Now, in Japan, they have the barbers with the red and white sign, and they mistook it for a barber's and they kept coming in. So he kind of like said, hey, do you know that this is what they do in America? And you know, and they have like Kentucky Fried Chicken for Christmas. It's a really traditional thing. So it made it really popular. And he says he feels a bit guilty. Obviously, doesn't feel that guilty because they obviously make loads of money out of this. And it's the most profitable time of the year. And actually, I can believe this because there's other countries I've gone to where McDonald's is seen as a kind of a big thing. It was once, you know, in Russia even.
Absolutely. I mean, so I did know, by the way, I was being a bit cheeky there, Josh, and I felt like it was Shagila's story, so I'd let her do it. But they did, wandering into barbers with the red and white thing, that confused me slightly because were they going to get their hair cut on Christmas Day, and did he just blag it and say, no, it's not, would you like thighs instead? Short back and thighs or whatever. I don't know. How... I didn't quite... I don't know where I'm going, but it's new material.
I quite like short back and thighs. That's not bad for a Christmas Day pun.
Well, Paul, you lost me at barbers.
Yes.
And that's where I got...
so sorry.
I got very upset. Let's take a look at Monday's Mirror. Paul, is this Christmas overkill?
Yes. Inside a festive town called Santa Claus, which celebrates Christmas all year round. Now, there's no respite, they're saying, from festivities for residents of Santa Claus in Indiana. I believe there's also one in Arizona, but it's not quite as popular, obviously, in the US, where larger-than-life statues of Father Christmas grin down on them all year round. Now, I love Christmas. I think I'm getting a sense we all quite enjoy Christmas.
I love it.
It's been nice to be here. Everybody's been... Well, you know, we'd all rather be with our families, but it has been lovely to be in here because everybody's... full of the festive... Well, you've done about 17 hours work today, Josh, so you're not feeling quite as energised as I am. But, you know, I mean, Wizards said it, didn't they? They'd like it to be Christmas every day, but I wouldn't.
Oh, my God. Do you know, this is so magical. This is my ideal story. I had no idea this place existed.
Were you tempted to visit?
Yes. How? Because you said you're going away somewhere where there's sort of Laplandy-type places, right? But I didn't know that this existed.
This is it. Okay.
I am going there. Christmas is my favourite time of the year. Tell you what, it's literally left to us immigrants to keep Christmas alive because we've done the blandest turkey, everything. Years ago, we used to have it all like curry turkey and stuff, and now we've done it proper, like bland and everything.
Coming over here, saving up Christmas.
Saving your bleeding Christmas, honestly. But I would love to go here, and it's like Groundhog Day, but with Christmas. I can't think of anything better.
There are Christmas shops all around the UK that run all year round. In Shanklin on the Isle of Wight, big Christmas shop, not sponsored, but it is a nice place to go.
I'm going.
You missed a pub quiz. OK, then. Well, look, let's have a look now. The Daily Star. Let's finish on this one. And a fitting story just in time for Boxing Day, Sajila.
So, does anybody know why Boxing Day is there?
Well, apart from Paul, Mr. Pub quiz over there.
Pub quiz. Well, so the headline in the Daily Star is people are only just realising why football is played on Boxing Day. So apparently, you know, unlike our European counterparts, Boxing Day matches happened on Christmas Day and Boxing Day because it was for the working person to be able to go to football, which they couldn't do for the rest of the year. And then, of course, you had the 1871 Bank Holiday Act, which brought in bank holidays.
One of our favourite acts.
One of our favourite acts, which was obviously superseded by another one that gave us more bank holidays. And now, traditionally, we, because of bank holidays and because Christmas Day is more about family, Boxing Day is more about the game. And there is a game actually bringing us to now, which is, fast forward to present day, the supporters will get to see favourite Premier League teams in action on Boxing Day for the first time since World Cup break in November. Merseyside will play host to World Cup winners Emi Martinez and Alexis Mac Allister. I've really killed that because I hate football, so I don't.
See,
really
I love football.
But I love Boxing Day because it's shopping day.
I love football, love
So-
Christmas, I love Boxing Day. Boxing Day is probably my favourite day, actually, because for me it's all about the sofa, the nibbles, the footy. I will watch
The
every...
leftovers. You got the leftovers. You've done the hard work.
Yeah.
Enjoy the leftovers.
Exactly. And I will watch every football game that's on the TV tomorrow. I absolutely love it. And I used to be a season ticket holder at Portsmouth and going to... Wow, yeah. Me and 6 others, Sajila. But it was one of my favourite fixtures of the year.
OK, well, fair enough. That's it, part 3. Coming up, the festivities continue. We've got Christmas fails, an interesting take on an ice rink, and finally, as this year draws to a close, some actual good news. See you in 2.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us. We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. Back with this story from Monday's Times. And finally, we've got some good news. Paul, cheer us all.
I will try my best, Josh. And it's good to read out some good news for a change. Isn't that what Headliners is all about, actually? Making fun of the news, but this is actually some genuinely good news. So this year may have felt like permacrisis, a new word for this year actually, I never used it before 2022, but it certainly did feel like permacrisis. You couldn't stop doom scrolling through. So doom scrolling, by the way, is another word that I never used before this year. That's where you just cannot stop looking at the bad news. But we can take heart. There is strong evidence the world is getting better all the time. We always knew this, Josh, didn't we? We always knew this. And there are a couple this is the Times, and they list 33 good news stories. I'm going to share a couple I quite like. There's been some big breakthroughs for fighting tropical diseases in 2022. Now,
boring.
Well, I mean, you know, I don't get. See, for me, that's exotic.
We've still got monkeypox and whatnot.
But you know, I mean, the idea of getting a tropical disease is an aspiration for me, Josh. So the fact that they're now going, I feel slightly sad about it.
You're so middle class.
I'm not, unfortunately, but I wish I was.
He wants to get out of here.
Cancer deaths are falling across Europe, substantially falling.
That's really good. Now, but I don't like what they've said about it. Just like, go to Rwanda.
Well, this is a great point, actually, because let me just read it quickly. So it's saying fallen substantially across Europe, the United States, Canada and Japan, and in Rwanda revealed that it's on track to become the first country in the world to eliminate cervical cancer. So we should be sending people to Rwanda, Josh.
Really? Yeah, according to the Times, let me just say. I've got a favourite. Mine's number 4. So millions of Alzheimer's patients were given hope after a new drug was shown to show memory
just
decline
said that.
by 27%. Do you know that?
Well, I had to do that.
No, I think this is a really great thing because it's the saddest but the most hilarious disease, of course. And we all know someone.
We do. I do. Anyway.
It's really awful.
I'm destined to get it, and I need this cure.
Yeah.
We need this cure.
It's amazing. I'm so excited. I totally agree with you. This is the one for me that absolutely stood out because I've always that's the reason why I've had 5 kids, because it's like someone is going to wipe my bum.
Someone's going to remember you.
Someone's going to wipe my bum with 5 kids. Surely.
All your kids are at home now panicking, looking at each other going, it's not me.
It is them. It is you. But yeah, that is a great story. There's some here that maybe aren't as good news as they sort of purporting to be. I'm not there's stuff about Italy banning its slaughter of male chicks.
Which one number is that?
This is number 12.
Male chicks. This is not a Scotland story.
I mean, I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know, I like a chicken.
Yes.
I don't know what that exactly
male
is.
chicks, that is very sexist, isn't it?
It's very...
Does it say male chicks in here?
It does say
male chicks.
Because we can't... We could.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of good stuff. I mean, it actually raises quite an interesting point. Of course, as you were saying, this whole doomsaying and doom scrolling and whatnot. And yes, the media, and we are part of that media, believe it or not, which seems incredible, as we're all 3...
3 comedians.
Well, speak myself.
In Wally's.
3 Wally's who are used to being in the green room and cracking jokes and whatnot. But yes, there seems to be this idea of pushing forward this narrative of constant doom, constantly things going bad. But there are books out there that argue that we are very much as a species, on an upward trajectory. And if you can sort of look back and take a more macro view of everything.
Of course.
My God,
things are moving in the right direction.
I mean, you take the Victorian
I think you're a
age.
positive person. Are you a positive person? You come across as very positive.
Do I?
Yeah. Are you generally because
I would. Well, there are people watching this that maybe disagree with that. I do. That's my attitude in life is quite positive, but I can be quite negative.
And I am a Pollyanna, like a real positive. I always try and spin.
I was like you were
polyamorous.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Good place to come out,
I'm
Gina.
watching this. Shush. So I am a bit more Pollyanna, but I think if you look at the positive, then you'll find the positive. And that sounds really cheesy, but it's true.
That's a nice little Christmas.
But that cancer, that cancer news should be big news.
Oh, no, look, these things, we've covered a lot of those stories.
I know we have.
But you're right. They're usually sort of, beneath the fold, as they say in the old newspaper world. Anyway, Monday's Guardian now, and it looks like these reindeers, they might actually be a fan of climate change, Paul.
Yeah, so the Arctic warming's not bad for everybody. Concern for the plight of Santa's favourite sleigh pullers is mounting, but in one small corner of the far-flung Svalbard. Sorry, this is. I don't want to go over this. It's becoming potentially dodgy, but. Rudolph and his friends are thriving, and they're thriving because this particular type of grass that looks like a popsicle is managing to poke its head through the snow and ice for the reindeers to eat, which is great. So they're thriving. But, this is 2022. Reindeers are great. I love all the songs, Rudolph and the nose and all that, but surely there should be at least hybrid by now, or electric.
You think? No.
Tesla, the green-nosed reindeer.
It doesn't get more natural than a reindeer.
Yeah, but
I think
think of the methane. Look at all this
emissions.
Yeah, exactly. Think of the methane. These are popsicle green plants.
Fine.
But given their diminutive size, this is the last chapter that was interesting me. Given their diminutive size, though, Santa might need to invest in a smaller sleigh. I'm not sure they could do it. They just might be a little bit obese. Is he fat shaming Santa? Is this article fat shaming Santa? Let's discuss Santa's health issues.
Yeah.
Right, he's obese. Right,
he's got
lot of belly fat, which is obviously around the heart. So he's obviously liable to get diabetes, heart attacks, and strokes. I think we should be worried about Santa.
Well, he is magical, so hopefully he.
Why can't he magically get thin then?
Well, I guess because he likes the look.
It doesn't go up and down his weight, though. It's been the same weight our lives.
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, having smaller reindeer, that's just the way that it's going now. I don't know about you, but all the presents are getting smaller and smaller as they get digitised.
Our presents are smaller this year.
AirPods and whatnot. It's actually you only need some tiny little reindeers to actually take them around. But the bit that actually interested me, which was a bit of a sciencey thing, was that I hadn't noticed, even thought of before as a consideration, is because of global warming, what is happening, or global climate change, or whatever you want to call it now. There's more rain. So what the rain does is it melts the snow, and then that freezes over and it becomes ice. And that was having an impact on the other reindeers, because normally, if it was just soft snow, they could manage to dig through that, but the reindeers can't actually dig through the ice.
And yet they're called reindeer.
Spelled differently.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Just saying.
The sun now, and how is this for a Christmas fail situation?
OK, so Wrap It Up, it's called. My mum is fuming after discovering expensive alternative brother used for gift wrap. So this lady bought some very expensive wallpaper for her walls, £62 wallpaper.
Whoa, someone's in the money.
Someone's in the money.
£62?
I think that's a kind of, like, I mean, she doesn't know how many rolls. Is it £62 for one roll? I don't know.
She had some left over.
Yeah, she could. Yeah. So basically, the
there we are.
the
We've got
son uses
we've got a photo there.
Oh, we have. I didn't see the photo.
Now, what do you think of that?
I'm sorry, but that does look like wrapping paper.
That's sort of like a Japanese vibe, a Japanese kind of...
Yeah,
I'm
sorry, but that is not £62.
Yeah, I'm not paying 62 quid
That
for that.
does look like wrapping paper. I'm sorry, love, but
you think it's genuine wrapping paper?
Yeah, look, I think it's genuine wrapping paper.
It's got a certain thickness, I can tell.
They're just showing off about having good wrapping paper.
£62
wallpaper.
I think actually I have used old, little remnants that you get left.
Oh, OK.
Not £62 worth though. But you can have like recycling, isn't it?
Dodgy things that happen at Christmas always reminds me of the same thing. My dad thinking he was a bit of a comedian. He's not.
And he's watching.
And he's watching. I'm going into Dad tonight. I've had enough. I've seen him today. I'm going in on him.
No, at least your dad watches.
He told me... Merry Christmas! Okay. He told me that black eyes were sweets. He told me that black eyes were sweets.
Wow.
So in school, in front of the whole class, when I was asked what I'd like for Christmas, I told my teacher I would like my dad to give me a black eye.
Wow. And then they called social services.
And then social
it was 1986.
They were just like, oh, I'll give you one. Fine, fair enough. On to Monday's Daily Star, and I don't know about you, Paul, but I've got cold feet about this ice skating rink.
This does make me laugh, because I'll tell you the story, but it just reminds me of how desperate as parents we can be to entertain our kids. So shoppers outraged by skating rink with no ice where kids have to tap dance.
How does that work? I'm trying to imagine it.
There is a type of ice rink for the working classes, Josh, where it's not iced and it's basically a slippery floor, but you can use ice skating skates to skate around on it, and they've essentially done this here. But if you can't skate too well, it's not like ice, so they've just ended up, clacking their skates onto this hard surface.
Probably paying a fortune.
Can I just give a Marie Antoinette moment and say,
why not?
Let them roller skate.
Why not? Yeah, they could have done, couldn't
they?
they?
Roller skate. Get your roller skates on, kids, and still use that. And also, Torval and Dean, they did, 1981, they did a routine called Fast Tap. So maybe they learnt that without ice. So look where Torval and Dean ended up. So, kids, use your imagination.
I would be very angry if I had gone to this ice rink and there'd been no actual ice.
Haven't we all done something like this, desperately trying to entertain children? Between us, there's hundreds of children, and... this is the sort of thing where you just turn up thinking this better be good. I've paid like 22 quid or whatever a kid, and all of a sudden it is just some... Yeah, I was half expecting them to say that this was from Trotter's Independent Traders or something, because this just smacks of some chancer, doesn't it?
No, from The Guardian now. It looks like these Santas have got a bit too merry this year, Sajila.
Oh, you can't write this stuff. So, pub-crawling Santas get armoured vehicles stuck in Cornish hedge.
As you do.
As you do.
Is that the headline of the year?
So, a group of Santas out on a
This feels like it's written by that AI. You know, there's that AI.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that today.
This is one of its headlines.
So, it's a group of Santas, all dressed up as Santas, not real Santas, obviously. They got wedged in a narrow lane in this vintage vehicle, and they were on a pub crawl.
Oh, we got some video going on there.
Oh, we have we? God, I was really dying to see this as well.
Look at
this.
Oh, wow.
What are they doing?
How many Santas does it take to fill up a narrow lane?
Yeah.
So on social media, people were saying things like, an army tank, yes, an actual army tank, driven by several inebriated Santas trying to get to a pub in Anagarak, who got stuck in the way. I love this story. Another person joked, I've seen it all now, a tank being driven by several Santas tried to get into Anagarak, got wedged and blocked the entrance to the village, so nobody else could come in.
By the way, this is a drink driving incident.
But no, apparently none of them were tested positivio.
Yeah, because they had
Italy, wasn't it?
Because the police came and they were like, yeah, mate, we're in a tank.
Funny.
What are the police going to do about it?
You got your driving licence. Yeah, exactly.
You've got an Eeyore, I got a tank.
All right, well, let's finish this. And a story to end from the Mirror about a couple of Christmas song Scrooges. I love the story.
Yeah, I do too, and they are Scrooges. Couple who hate Wham's Last Christmas raised 50 grand to buy it and stop it being played. Now, I think it's an absolute banger. This is a great tune.
I love it, I love it.
It's one of my favourites. It's absolutely one of my favourites. I'm an 80s kid anyway. I think we probably all are.
And he died today to save us.
Oh, Jesus, I thought...
George Michael.
George Michael. In 2015.
George Michael died today on Christmas
But these are
Day.
the sort of people that start things like Just Stop Oil, aren't they?
I know.
Yeah, I hate this.
But have you been whammed this year? I didn't get whammed.
No, I didn't get whammed this year.
Today.
You got whammed
Today.
I think if you survived today,
Have I won it
it's
then?
allowed.
Have I won it?
Didn't,
Okay.
actually.
I won Christmas.
Yeah,
but I'm sorry, this is a joyless, miserable git of a couple, and I hate them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel. I love the idea that they actually think that... I mean, it's funny. They're really trying to get this 25
But, in
million.
a cost of living crisis, you raise 16,000. Give it to the food banks. You selfish, self-centred, self-entitled.
Telling us what she thinks. Now, that is it.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Tonight. Yes, thank you to my wonderful guests, Sajila Kershi and Paul Cox. Headliners will be back tomorrow at 11 with Steve N. Allen, Cressida Wetton and Francis Foster. From all of us here at GB News, we hope you've had a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And
And a Happy New
Year.
Year.
Good night.
Good
Thank you.
tidings we bring for you and your king.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many